What is up, everyone? So you see that right there, that is the Genesis G90. And if you've never heard of Genesis, this is Hyundai's luxury arm to compete with Lexus, BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, etc. Now, the reason that that's interesting is because we're talking about a company that only 40 years ago was making a $5,000 disposable hatchback. So I'm gonna be frank with you guys. This still isn't quite up there with like a fully loaded Audi A8, a Lexus LS500, but this has so much to offer and it's jaw-dropping when you remember who built this car. So this is gonna be my full review over the Genesis G90. We're gonna look at the exterior, the interior, obviously take it for a drive, and I'm gonna show you guys why this car is so impressive for the money. What is going on, everyone? So let's go ahead and check out the 2020 Genesis G90. Now, interestingly enough, this is the most basic model that I have. This is the 3.3 liter twin turbo V6 with rear wheel drive. And there's only like 4 options to choose from. You can get this with all wheel drive, or you can get the 5 liter V8 with rear wheel drive and all wheel drive. And depending on which engine you go with, that will determine your spec on the inside. So if you go with the 5 liter, you get the rest of the options. And if you go with the 3.3 liter twin turbo V6 like I have, you get lower options, so you don't get as many, but surprisingly you're not missing a ton from the 5 liter. So in this video we're going to go over what this has, and then I'll explain what's missing and things like that. But it's a good chance for you guys to see what this has to offer in its most basic form. Now, this color is going to be called Adriatic Blue, or Adriatic Blue, however you want to pronounce it. Either way, I think it's a good option for those that want color but they don't want to be too flashy and vibrant with their color. So instead of going with the normal silver, black, white, gray that these cars are usually purchased in, this blue gives it a really nice rich navy tone without being too out there, and I think it's beautiful. It's got a ton of sparkle and flake if you really look at it, and in this sort of a setting where it's kind of dim, shadowy, it's really I guess monotone, and it just has a real nice luxurious feel to it. Now, coming up to the front, you're going to have this massive grille, and this is the centerpiece of the front of the G90. Now, you either hate it or love it. I wasn't a big fan of it when they first released this car, but as always, when you get something in person, you appreciate it a lot more. You get to see it in the flesh or in the metal, and it looks really good. It's very dominant, it's in your face. It lets you know that it is trying to make a statement, and it does a great job at doing it because this thing has gotten eyeballs left and right. Then as you come down, you're going to have your LED lights right here. This has full LED lights, not a single incandescent bulb. You have a daytime running LED that's gonna run right through the middle. It's very vibrant, very prominent, and I think that's really what attracts people to the front of the car. That mixed with the big grille, you can't help but not notice this when it's driving down the road. It just looks elegant and it just looks beautiful. Obviously at night, the lights are going to look equally as good, helping the car just look that part when it comes to looking more expensive, and they're vibrant. You can see well at night, and there's definitely no issue there. Now, coming to the logo, I love how you can have these I love how it has these accents coming up on the side of the wings. I think that looks pretty cool, and it really adds a little bit of toughness to the car. And speaking of toughness, this line right here is super thick, very Bentley-esque, but it gives it that real tough look, and it just makes it look very strong in its appearance. Now, coming to the wheels, you have 19-inch wheels, and these dinner plates are, I think, the best thing in the world. I don't know the actual name for them, but either way, they look great, and here's why. So because you have all of these spokes going on right here, whenever the car is moving, whenever it's driving, it creates this effortless and flowy look, and it makes it look like I guess it's not trying when it's driving, if that makes sense. It just gives it like a flowy, moving, elegant look to the wheel, and I think it adds to the luxury, and I think this is one of the only cars that can pull that wheel design off. Now, coming to the side, you're gonna have this LED strip right here, and it's gonna fall perfectly in line with the side LED right here. So if you're a big fan of things being even, that is going to really satisfy you. Then you have this real faint line that's going to flow all the way down the side, chrome here, chrome around the windows. Then as you move back, you're gonna see just how long this thing is. Now, interestingly, this is not the longest out of the cars that it competes with. This is actually the shortest. I believe this is about 204.9 inches long, and this is shorter than like a LS 500. This is shorter than an S-Class long wheelbase. This is shorter than an Audi A8. So this is the shortest, but you wouldn't tell just by looking at it because the lines make it look longer than it really is. Now, as we move to the back, I love how this line that starts way at the hood is gonna come all the way down, and it sort of opens up right where the taillights are. I think that's a really nice, simple design cue that played off really well. Now, as you move to the back, you also have a redesigned rear end, and it looks good. It looks elegant. It looks a little bit more futuristic, makes it definitely look more expensive. And you have LED lights back here. They look great at night. You have like this dual tier thing going on, and then you have the separated lights in the middle where it says Genesis right there. And then I don't know if you guys can see it, hopefully I can get you a better look, but right above the second E in Genesis, there's a little bitty button. That's gonna be how you open the trunk. G90 badge right there. And obviously your 3.3 liter twin turbo badge there. It would change to a 5 liter badge if this was the 5 liter V8. And then it would also say, I believe, I'll let you know that it was all-wheel drive if it was all-wheel drive. Then you have your exhaust tips, which are interestingly shaped, but let's go ahead and see how this twin turbo V6 sounds. All right, so here's your key for the Genesis G90. Pretty simple key. I do wish they did a little bit more with it, but it looks pretty nice. You have your lock, your unlock, trunk release, panic, and you turn it around, you're gonna have your Genesis symbol right there in the back. You also have a physical key in here to get in and out of the car. If this were to die, battery dies on this, battery dies on the car, you can still get in. Now, you have a touch sensitive area here. You lock that, so you have an actual button there, but the touch sensitive area is actually behind the door handle. Put your hand there, it's going to unlock. Another thing is at night, whenever you unlock it, you're gonna have the Genesis logo that's going to have your puddle lamp there on the ground. And then you also have soft closing doors. So if I don't shut the door all the way, it'll automatically close the rest of the way. But let's go ahead and check out the interior. Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and get inside of the G90. Now, first of all, you can hopefully see this is going to be a blue leather interior. So it's like a really faint blue, almost black with a hint of blue. And hopefully I can get you guys a better look here. And one of my favorite things is right on the headrest that is going to have your Genesis logo, and I think that looks really nice. Now, coming back to the door, you're going to have your speaker here for your Lexicon sound system. Really nice speaker design. All of this is obviously leather, so it's going to be soft to the touch, real supple. You've got some stitching going right there. Coming up top, you've got these nice wood accent, and it's real nice. It's like a matte wood. It's got a nice grain, nice feel to it. More leather up here, really soft, more stitching. The door handle feels nice and solid. And you're going to have your seating controls right here. Now, this smart one is interesting. So when you push that, an icon will pop up on the screen, and basically you put in all of your information, height, weight, pant size, things like that, and then it'll adjust to your perfect position. Now, I tried out both. So here is my normal position that I had it set to, and then here is the smart position that it put me into. So it's quite different than the way I usually sit. But I actually found both to be comfortable. I don't know how that's possible, but both seating positions were pretty comfortable for me. So it does work. I guess you just have to get used to it right off the bat. Now, coming down, you are going to have obviously your mirror controls right here, window controls, door locks, decent amount of cubby space, Genesis kick plate located right here. It isn't going to illuminate or anything like that. Genesis branded floor mats. Now, hopefully you guys can see this, but you have this this Genesis logo right here, which is pretty cool. It's just super bright today, so cannot figure that out. Now, coming right here, all of your seating controls, lumbar support. This is to adjust like the top of the backrest right there. Leather quality is nice, supple, and you can really see that blue tint going on right there. And then you have this like chocolate brown accent here, and I think it's a really cool color combination. Perforations there in the middle, and the leather is just extremely high quality, quilted as you move up. But let's go ahead, hop in, and we'll check out the rest. Okay, let's go ahead and shut the door. Nice solid shut. Then here's a wider look at the interior before I start the car for you guys. And then to start, it's very simple. You're gonna go foot all the way down the brake and then hit this button to start. And that's it. Very simple startup. So now the steering wheel is a little bit on the basic side. This is basically the same steering wheel design you get in the previous updated G90 model. And I wish they would have updated the steering wheel. It's just a little boring, I guess. It's nice. It's got some really nice leather quality. All of this right here is even going to be leather. The whole thing is just lined in leather. Just visually, it's just not a very appealing steering wheel design, but you know, that may not be a big deal to some people. Now, obviously in the middle, you've got your Genesis logo. Over to the left, all of your media commands. Over to the right, all of your cruise control. And then these commands are going to control this screen here in the middle. Paddle shifters located right there in the back. The only thing is these are a little plasticky, so obviously this isn't a perfect vehicle, and that is one thing that I do wish they would fix. You're going to have automatic wipers here, and you can see same stock that you would get out of like any other Hyundai. Over here you're going to have automatic lights, and then moving to the screen, I can use those buttons and scroll through my different settings right there. Use the scroll wheel to go up and down. Very simple. Speedometer over to the left, tach over to the right, and then you have your water temp and then your fuel within each of those dials. Now, I do like how this little knob here has a really nice feel to it. So I just wanted to comment on that. Now as we move over here, you are going to have a few more buttons. You're going to have your electronic parking brake, trunk release, gas, interior illumination, blind spot, lane keep, and then your traction right there. More of that wood there. Then as you move up, you're going to have really soft leather located up here. You're going to have an Alcantara lined headliner right there, if you guys can see that. Then coming to the middle, you have your head-up display, so you can see that floating away right there. Now as we move to the center screen, interestingly enough, even though it's way embedded in there, this is going to be a touch screen. That's a very far reach, and I honestly wouldn't recommend anyone utilizing it as a touchscreen. It's so far for me. I'm 6 feet tall and have long arms, so I can't imagine anyone actually using that as a touchscreen unless you're a passenger and you don't want to reach across and use the dial here. But this is your main way of using it, and I'll get to this in just a second. But the screen is really nice. You have Apple CarPlay on here. You're gonna have all kinds of cool things. Now, surprisingly enough, you can play movies on here. The only reason I found that out is because there's a little tiny thing that caught my eye on the dash, and it's going to say DVD. I did not know what that was. I checked into the owner's manual, and sure enough, if you open up the glove box, there's a little like ribbed pattern. You push on that, and then boom, out comes a DVD player. I thought that was absolutely insane. I had no clue. I had not seen it on any other reviews. So now you guys know this has a DVD player, which is cool because if you want to have a cheap date, which I was able to have with my wife, you can sit in the back seats, relax, and watch yourself a movie. So that's pretty cool. And the other thing I like is just the ease of use on here. It's very easy, even using the dial, and it's just a good system. I don't see anything wrong with it, and obviously it could use some updates in the future, but as of right now, I think it's a perfectly fine system. Now coming down, you have this clock here that's going to have your Genesis logo in it, volume knob, all your physical buttons to get to things that you would like to. HVAC controls, climate controls. You have dual zone climate control located here. Then as you move down, you've got the center console, tons of leather. This whole thing is leather. Nice solid shifter, all aluminum with leather here. You're gonna have your park right up there. Obviously push forward for reverse. 360 degree backup camera. You have a side view. You're gonna have a front view, a wide angle rear view. You even have a front camera on here, which is pretty cool as well. Park, and that's gonna go right away. You can pull up your camera view at any time here. Parking sensors, automatic brake hold, different drive modes. And it doesn't do much. It just is gonna take you to custom, comfort, sport, and eco. That's pretty simplistic. Open this up, and you are going to have an area to put your phone. So you are going to have a wireless charging pad located right in there, USB in there for Apple CarPlay. As you move back, you've got your dial, some more of that beautiful matte wood, all matte wood here, and it looks so gorgeous. I absolutely love the look of it. Cup holders right there, and I love how this opens in such an elegant fashion. Your dial here, it's going to have your back button, your home button, your menu button located right there. You're going to have heated seats, cooled seats, 3 settings, heated steering wheel. This is going to be for the back shade. So there you guys go. Now when you hit this is going to open up in a very luxurious fashion, all lined in felt, so that way you don't hear anything rattling around. You're going to have 2 12 volts in here, but you don't have another USB in here. You only have one USB up front. This glove box is also lockable. You have an LED light in there. We already talked about the DVD player. Auto dimming mirror with your home link located up here. You're going to have a sunglass holder located there. LED lights. And there you go. Now, last thing to talk about the front is the windows. So to keep things quiet in here, this has double paned windows. You can actually see the double pane windows. And on top of that, this has a feature I've never seen in a car. When you roll up any window in this car, if something gets in the way, the window will automatically roll back down. So if you have kids, if you have animals, and you accidentally roll up the window, your animal's head gets stuck, your child's head gets stuck, their arm gets stuck, it'll automatically go back down. And I thought that was a pretty cool feature. But it's pretty much it for the front. Let's go ahead and check out the back. Okay, so sitting in the back of the Genesis G90, the first thing you're going to notice, because this isn't fully loaded, you're not going to get the seating controls right here. You only get that in the fully loaded model. So this is not going to recline forward, but I can still move the seats front and back just like that. I have a cup holder here, which is great. And then of course you're gonna have all of your controls for media. You don't have cooled seats, you do have heated seats. And then I can also control the front seat using these controls right here. That's pretty much all you can do right here. You also don't get the screens back here. But I do like how the armrest is super soft. It has Genesis imprinted right there in the middle, and it looks really good. You fold this up, you've got a deep area lined in felt. You're gonna have a 12 volt. You're gonna have a USB here, but only one USB. And I'm actually surprised you don't have a wireless charging pad back here. You get that on a K900, so I would expect to see that on here. Now, if I lift this whole thing up, you have a decent amount of room for a third passenger. This is nice and low. You're gonna have 2 more 12 volts here. I think I would rather those be USBs. Close that up. You're gonna have 2 vents right back here, mat pockets. Foot room is pretty good. The seat is low, so I can't really slide my feet underneath. But knee room, I have like half a foot here. And then my headroom is gonna be really good being 6 feet tall. This seat is also set to my driving position. Now, if I shut the door, super solid shut. Sounds like I just shut a vault. You're gonna have nice wood here, the same quality materials as the front. You have automatic sunscreen shades located right here, just a push of a button. You're also gonna have a coat hanger right here off to each side. A hanger here for dry cleaning, a leather wrapped grab handle here, and then of course LED lights here in the back. So that's pretty much gonna be it for the back. Let's go ahead and check out the trunk. Okay, so coming to the back of the Genesis G90. Now there's 3 ways you can get in. You can use your key, you can stand near the back, it'll beep a few times and then open up, which I quite like. Other systems, you gotta wave your foot like that. And let's say if you were older and you had things in your hand, you might not still have the best balance. So I think this way is very convenient. Now also there's a button here, which I showed you guys earlier on the walk around, and you just push that and it's gonna open right up. Now once this is open, you have a ton of space back here. You guys can see the cubic feet here on the screen. You're going to have this little net right here. You've got little netted off areas to the side. You're gonna have a Genesis branded little first aid kit right here, so you guys can probably see that. And it's got this Velcro thing on the back, that way it just sticks to the side of the car, which is pretty cool. Now you are going to have like jack assembly equipment, a spare underneath here. You can also fold that middle area down, but the seats themselves are not going to fold down. So this is pretty much all the space you're gonna get. You also have this little like metal aluminum piece here, so it's not gonna scratch up the plastic that's right underneath there. And it's just a really nice spacious area. I fit a ton of groceries in here, and it just swallowed everything I needed for about 2 weeks worth of groceries, if that gives you guys a good perspective on how much room you have here. Now you can also close it and lock it, or just close it normally. So we're gonna close this and see what powers this one. Okay, so under the hood of the Genesis G90, now you're gonna have the 3.3 liter twin turbocharged V6. Now this is a well-known engine within like the Hyundai Kia Corporation, and here in the Genesis it's gonna make 365 horsepower, 376 pound-feet of torque. Now the biggest difference between this and let's say the V8 is that this torque is going to come in at a much lower RPM. So even though you have a little bit less torque than the V8, it's going to come in around 1500 RPMs versus the V8, which is going to be way up near like 5000 RPM until you hit full torque. And what that means is when you're driving it, it's just a more effortless experience, at least in my opinion. And because this engine is lighter, it's just a more agile feeling. And then also you do not have all-wheel drive in this, so that's gonna lighten up the vehicle as well. So personally, I would rather have this setup, but paired with all the options. It's unfortunate that you can't get this engine with the fully loaded version. I think that was a little bit of a mistake on Genesis' part because I really like the way this drives. And you're gonna have these little strut bars right here that are just gonna help it handle a little bit better, though this is definitely far from being a great handling machine versus something like a BMW 7 Series. But let's go ahead and get it on the road and see exactly how this thing drives. Okay, so driving the Genesis G90. Now the first thing you notice is, listen to this. This is what, let's see, this is what 50 miles an hour sounds like in the G90. It is ridiculously quiet. It's so quiet. I'm not gonna say it's the quietest in the segment, but it's definitely one of the quietest vehicles I've been in. And obviously the benefit of not having road noise is great for your just peace of mind whenever you're driving. You don't hear anything rattling around the cabin. Everything's very well put together. The only clicking you're hearing is from my my bracelet right here, but other than that, it is serene. You don't feel the transmission doing any shifting. Now I'm in comfort mode, and it is very comfortable in comfort mode. It's just so serene. Now, the benefit, if you like to listen to music, this Lexicon sound system will deliver. And because you have a quieter cabin, you can really take it in if you love to listen to music. I love music. I have a very diverse range of things I listen to. I play guitar, been playing for about 11 years. So I like to listen to things like, you know, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, 80s rock, you know, some metal, old school Bullet for My Valentine kind of stuff. So very mixed, and then I can switch over and listen to, like, you know, newer Drake and anything on the newer hip hop side of things. So I've been able to test the sound system in different conditions. And when you're listening to your rock, if you're listening to classical music, if you're listening to anything that has a lot of highs, mids that you really want to take advantage of, this does a great job of pulling that out. It's very crisp. If you are listening to something that's live, it really opens up well enough to where you feel like you're there. So that's really cool. Now, I do want to talk about this screen setup. So once again, I mentioned earlier that I think it's kind of silly that it's a touchscreen. I can't reach it. My arm's fully extended. I'm nowhere near touching. I'm still about maybe 2 inches to 3 inches away from touching the screen. And, you know, I'm not lazy enough to where I don't want to lean forward and reach, but for the most part when I'm driving, I don't want to have to reach forward. And on top of reaching forward, I have to focus on where I'm going to touch. So if I want to hit up there that says up next, I got to reach all the way up, boom, hit up next, and then I have that right there. So I think that utilizing this is fine. I haven't had no issues with it, and most people will get used to it within a few days. But let's go ahead and talk about steering. So it's very light, obviously. The entire car feels lighter. I have not driven the V8, but just from where I'm sitting, this feels like a light car. It's definitely not, but you've got light steering. It feels light over the front end. I'm guessing because you have the smaller V6 engine, and you don't have all-wheel drive, you have rear-wheel drive. So the whole car this is probably the lightest specification that you can get it in, and I love the way it feels. It doesn't feel intimidating because of that lightness, and you can place it, you can maneuver it, and you can be very precise with how you drive this vehicle. And, you know, if you are afraid of driving big, longer cars, this will not be a scary experience by any means. So let's go ahead and check out different drive modes. So let's try sport. Now, how does this V6 go? Because obviously most people get the V8 because it's a V8. It goes better, right? Not necessarily. So if I were to floor it right now, this thing puts you back pretty good. And that is, that's 60 miles an hour, where I probably shouldn't be doing 60 miles an hour. But it puts you back very, very well. Now, obviously, no one is really gonna be driving this like that, but when you punch this, it goes. And I'll do it again in just a little bit, like from a stoplight, because it really goes from a stop. That torque just surges and it just shoves you all the way back, and it's a really cool experience. Now, obviously the V8 has more torque that will do the same thing, but this feels very different. It hits really hard at like 2,000 RPM, perfect. So I have a red light coming up here, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Now, brakes are good for this kind of a vehicle. They're not great, but they're very easy to place. The further you go down the brake pedal, obviously, the more the car brakes, and that's really what you want. So flooring it, like this thing goes. This is not a slow car, and this feels way more than the horsepower figures that they're putting on here. This feels closer to 400 horsepower that this thing is putting down. I mean, this goes. There's no reason that, you know, mid 300 horsepower should feel that strong in this big of a car. Now, if this was a smaller car, it would make sense, but once again, this is a massive vehicle. So once again, not everyone's gonna be driving like that, but when you are in its normal mode and you're just cruising, what happens is when you just slowly go like a quarter onto the accelerator pedal, it just gives you this really beautiful surge forward, and that's the benefit of having a turbocharged engine. You just get that low end torque, and when you're driving, especially people that are driving this and you're just cruising around, you're going to be utilizing torque more than you are horsepower, because once again, you're not going to be flooring this. At least the typical person driving this will not be flooring it. I'm just going to be driving like this, and right now I can feel that surge of torque already just coming on in such a beautifully smooth way, and that is what you want whenever you're driving this type of vehicle. I'm assuming. You guys comment below and let me know, but that's the best part I think about the V6, and it really is a shame you can't get this V6 as a fully loaded version with all the options, because I think that driving the two back to back, in terms of everyday driving, I think I would prefer that torque of the V6. Now, the V8 will probably have a little bit of stronger feeling right off the line, but it's still going to take a little bit for that torque to kick in, and that's where this is going to feel superior, and this is going to feel more refined. And this is a very refined twin turbocharged V6. Hyundai / Genesis has done a great job here. So other than that, seats are comfortable. I have this in my smart seat setting. I've been driving it around, testing it out. I didn't like it at first, so I was like, let me give it a chance, and it feels pretty good. So I guess Genesis kind of knows what they're doing there. Visibility's great, and yeah, it's just a beautiful vehicle, and it drives beautifully. So let's go ahead and drive this at night. All right, everyone, so driving the Genesis G90 at night. Now, there are some things that really pay off when you're driving this vehicle at night, and that's going to be, first of all, this camera whenever you're blinking left and right. So obviously, just like during the day, you have the camera that shows up, but it pays off more at night. One, because the brightness on the camera is brighter than it actually is outside, so you can actually see more. And then on top of that, you've got that super bright blinker, so you know for a fact that people either on the left or on the right of you are able to know that you're blinking. Obviously, you're going to have blind spot. You've got big mirrors. You have a long, almost traditional styled sedan, so because of that, you can see very well out of the sides. And so night driving isn't, it's not a chore. For a lot of people, they don't like driving at night because it involves a lot more uncertainty, not being able to see a lot of things around you, and this really almost diminishes that feeling completely. Now, as far as the screen goes, here's something that's interesting. So you can turn on like a blue light filter, and what that does is, you guys can see, this is like a more orangey, warm looking tone. And it's cool because it takes a lot of strain away from your eyes. So you guys can see it already made it to where the screen's not just glaring in my face. However, this isn't Genesis's fault. This is basically an Apple CarPlay fault. I do wish Apple CarPlay had like a night mode, because as soon as I go into it, boom, it's just super bright. And at that point, it makes it a little hard for me to see out of the windshield. And I have this on a lower setting, and if I turn it lower, it'll just make everything else dim. Once again, not a complaint against Genesis. It's more of me asking Apple CarPlay to add a night mode, because I think that would be really helpful. Other than that, the ambient lighting is very subtle in here. I do wish it had a little bit more ambient lighting. I wish it had some foot lighting. That way it can kind of brighten up the bottom half of the car. But for the most part, it's great. The head-up display is crystal clear at night, and it just perfectly floats there. It's awesome. And me blinking, you guys can probably see the blinker light over there. It's so bright, it's ridiculous. Your clock is illuminated here in the middle, and yeah, it's fantastic. The other cool thing at night is, with less people on the road, with just less things overall going on at night, you can really hear a lot more within the car. And I can whisper right now, and you guys could probably still hear me, because it is really quiet in this car, going 65 miles an hour on a pretty road. I'm here on the 405, so if you guys live in California, you know the 405 is not the best or well-kept road, and it handles it with such poise. It's great. But yeah, either way, guys, night driving's good, but let's go ahead and wrap this video up. All right, you guys, so to end the video, I think the G90 is an excellent sedan. It's beautifully crafted on the inside. It's so comfortable. The sound system's fantastic. The materials are incredible. And once again, just thinking of the fact that this is from the same company that builds the Hyundais and things that we know today, is able to make this, it's super impressive. Now, obviously, they still have a little bit to go to catch up with the rest of the competition, but once again, for fully loaded in this being close to $80,000, that's quite a bargain considering the things that this competes against. So, staying in line with what this car is meant to be, which is a budget version of those cars, I think it does a really excellent job. But I think it goes far beyond with the exterior looks. I think the exterior looks are right there with the competition. As a matter of fact, I think it looks better than some of the competition, and it definitely catches more eyes than a lot of the other competition. So let me know what you guys think about this. Comment below. Would you still get this over the competition considering the price? Would you steer clear from this vehicle? Does this impress you based off of what Hyundai has done in the past? Let me know what you guys think of this new Genesis G90, and also subscribe if you guys want to see more of my content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and be sure to leave a like. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.